Hello, my beautiful people. Welcome back to the most complete spoken English course on YouTube, where you learn English without boring grammar, without textbooks, and without stress. Here, you learn by listening to real-life stories and answering simple questions that will boost your fluency. Today's story is called "He Failed His Exam and Blamed the Teacher." Let's begin. It all started one chilly Monday morning. Jason was sitting at the back of his 10th grade classroom, chewing the end of his pencil and staring blankly at the board. The midterm exam results were about to be handed back, and he didn't feel good about it. Not because he thought he did poorly, actually, the opposite. Jason believed he did great. He had told everyone he was going to ace the exam. But Jason hadn't studied. He had meant to. He had planned to open his textbook and review his notes. But somehow, video games and text messages kept getting in the way. When Ms. Harris walked in with a stack of papers, the class went silent. She was known to be a fair but tough teacher. Everyone respected her, even if some feared her sharp comments and high expectations. Ms. Harris began calling out names and handing back the graded exams. Olivia, 92, good work. Marcus, 85, nice improvement. And so on. Jason waited for his name, tapping his foot nervously. Then she said, "Jason, 41. Please see me after class." A wave of heat rushed to his face. He grabbed the paper and saw the red marks all over it. Wrong answers. Unfinished problems. Messy writing. Jason's pride was crushed. But instead of accepting the result, something inside him snapped. He stood up and shouted, "This isn't fair. You didn't teach us half of this stuff." The class turned to look at him. Ms. Harris stayed calm. "Jason, sit down. We'll talk after class." But Jason wouldn't stop. "You're the reason I failed. Your notes are terrible. You make everything so confusing." Ms. Harris looked at him for a moment, then simply said, "We'll speak after class." Jason slumped back into his chair, arms crossed, his face still burning. After the bell rang, the other students left quickly, whispering as they passed. Jason stayed behind, reluctantly. Ms. Harris looked at him and asked, "Why didn't you come to tutoring last week?" Jason shrugged. "I didn't need it." She raised an eyebrow. "You didn't study either, did you?" Jason didn't answer. Ms. Harris reached into her desk and pulled out a small slip of paper. "This is a schedule for extra help sessions. I hold them every Tuesday and Thursday after school. You were invited. You never came." Jason looked down at his shoes. She continued, "I want you to succeed, but success requires effort. You can't blame others for what you didn't do." Jason didn't know what to say. That night at home, he sat at his desk in silence, holding his exam paper. He remembered all the times Ms. Harris had reminded the class about review sheets, practice questions, and the importance of taking notes. He remembered rolling his eyes every time she spoke. He remembered scrolling on his phone during review day. Slowly, the truth began to hit him. He failed because he didn't prepare. The next day, Jason came to class early. He walked up to Ms. Harris and said, "I'm sorry for yelling yesterday. You were right." She smiled gently and said, "Thank you for saying that. Are you ready to start again?" He nodded. From that day on, Jason attended every tutoring session. He stopped playing video games late into the night before tests. He began asking questions in class. On the next exam, Jason got a 78. Not perfect, but a huge improvement. More importantly, he stopped blaming others for his mistakes. And that lesson, he said, was more important than any grade. Now, it's time for your quiz. Let's test how much you understood from the story. Remember, answer out loud, and you have 5 seconds to respond after each question. Ready? Let's go. What was the name of the main student in the story? His name was Jason, a 10th grade student who failed his midterm exam. Why did Jason think he was going to do well on the exam? He believed he would do great and told others he'd ace it, even though he didn't study. Who was the teacher in the story? Ms. Harris, a fair but tough teacher who offered help sessions and had high expectations. What score did Jason receive on his exam? He received a 41 out of 100 and was asked to stay after class. How did Jason react after seeing his grade? He shouted at Ms. Harris, blamed her for not teaching well, and accused her notes of being confusing. What did Ms. Harris do in response to his outburst? She remained calm, asked him to sit down, and told him they'd speak after class. What reason did Ms. Harris give for Jason's failure? She reminded him that he didn't study, didn't come to tutoring, and didn't take the class seriously. How did Jason feel after thinking about it at home? He realized he had only himself to blame and felt ashamed for not preparing. What did Jason do the next day? He apologized to Ms. Harris and committed to doing better by attending tutoring and studying. What lesson did Jason learn by the end? That blaming others doesn't help. Taking responsibility and putting in effort leads to real improvement. Great job. Even if you didn't get all the answers, remember, the goal is to practice speaking and listening. Now let's go over some vocabulary from today's story. Let's take a closer look at some key words and expressions from the story. Midterm exam, a big test given in the middle of a school term. Example: the midterm exam covered everything from the first half of the semester. Aced, to do very well on something, especially a test. Example: she aced her math quiz with a perfect score. Pride was crushed, to feel deep disappointment or embarrassment. Example: his pride was crushed when he didn't make the team. Snap, to suddenly lose control of emotions. Example: she snapped after hearing the bad news. Shrug, to raise your shoulders when you don't know or don't care. Example: he shrugged when asked about the missing homework. Effort, physical or mental energy used to do something. Example: learning a language takes time and effort. Tutoring, extra help with schoolwork, usually one-on-one or in small groups. Example: he goes to tutoring every Tuesday for math. Outburst, a sudden expression of emotion, often anger. Example: her outburst shocked everyone in the room. Reluctantly, doing something without wanting to. Example: he reluctantly agreed to stay after school. Improvement, a positive change or progress. Example: there was a big improvement in his reading skills. Thank you so much for watching this video until the end. You are doing something amazing by learning English with stories. If you enjoyed this lesson, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with your friends, so more people can enjoy these stories and learn English the easy way. This is Docentes DigitalesTV, where you learn to speak English fast, easy, and with confidence. See you in the next video.